Howdy, Sadie Mae here, and today I'm going to show you how I upcycled this old, outdated coffee table into an awesome modern piece of furniture. Let's get started. After a lot of brainstorming, I decided this piece needed to become a bench with a modern flair. So I ordered some hairpin legs and got it started taking it apart. Super easy, just a few screws to attach the base from the top. And then I took several measurements just to make sure that my plan was going to work. How wide is it? How long is it? How thick is it? And I decided I'm going to make my seat about 15 inches deep and the back about 10 inches high. And I was testing out some shelf brackets I found at Home Depot to see if they would work to help support my back since I don't do a lot of metalworking. And with my plan made, now it was time to rip this top in half or at those measurements. So I got the table saw set up and try to get this big old honking piece over there and rip it down the middle. This is going to give me my seat bottom and the seat back. Now I'm testing out if the brackets are actually going to work. They're metal and they should be great, but they do have this weird little lip on the top of them. So I'm trying to see if the wood should go in the front or the back. Ultimately, I decided it should go in the front and I need to get rid of those lips. So I busted out a saw. Probably not the best way to cut this, but it's the way that I had. It took a little while and a lot of cutting. A little patience. My arm was sore, but it's okay. These brackets do come with 2 holes drilled on each side of it for when you're using it as a shelf bracket, but I needed to drill an extra hole in them because I wanted my backrest to sit up a little bit higher away from that. So I'm just using a drill bit and clamped it in and getting that drilled all the way through. Once I get it drilled, then I do use a little rasp to clean up the edges of that. At this point, I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to finish the wood, so I decided I definitely wanted to get rid of that orangey color, so I started by sanding all of the finish off the wood pieces. And then I went to go ahead and install the hairpin legs. I had them inset about 1.5 inches on both sides so that once the angle would line up with the outside of the bench. I pre-drilled the holes. And then I installed the hairpin legs with some 1-inch screws, but since the seat base was only 3/4 of an inch, I did end up using some nuts that I had on hand as like a little offset so that the screw wouldn't go all the way through. I really wish installing these legs would go as fast as what I'm showing you here. But once they were installed, I went ahead and flipped it over and tested out the bench to see if it was going to be sturdy. And good success. Now for the part of this upcycle that I think is going to take this bench from good to awesome, adding some texture. And for this, I'm using Sabertooth's 4-inch donut wheel with a 5/8-inch bore in fine grit on my angle grinder. This texture is fairly easy to achieve. I just tap the edge of the wheel on the wood. I didn't go in too deep because overall I wanted the surface to be flat. I also offset the texture at an angle because A, it looks cool, and B, because it was comfortable body position for this repetitive process. All in all, the seat and the back took about 2 hours to carve. That might seem like a lot, but in the end, I think it was well worth it. Once that was done, I brought it back into my shop and did a little bit of sanding just to clean up any of the rough edges so there wasn't anything sharp on there. The wood was looking so cool at this point that I decided I kind of wanted just to stain it to leave some of that grain there. So I went ahead and gave it some, cleaned it up, wood conditioned it, and then stained it black, an ebony stain. But as you notice, once it dries and I wipe it off, it does look really busy, especially on the side with the texture. So I ended up just painting it a solid black in black melt paint, and I love it. And since I did end up painting it black, then I wanted to paint the hardware a different color. So I ended up spray painting them gold. And right now you see me attaching the shelf brackets or the back on there, just pre-drilling those and using the same screws and nuts like I did before. I did end up using a faux screw in that extra hole that was for the shelf bracket just to kind of give it an intentional look. And then lastly, I reattached those hairpin legs and flipped it over and gave it a test run. I absolutely love how this piece came out. It's crazy. That oak coffee table from before into this modern bench with texture. It just can't believe it came from the same two pieces. And if you like this build as much as I did, please hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to my channel for more building awesome adventures. Now remember, build loud, build wild, and have an awesome day.